Are we looking at giving F-35s to Saudi Arabia? Are we looking to give Saudi Arabia nuclear capacity? What is going on here?
Sorry, I killed one of your security guards that was guarding the monsters of Hamas.
It's like if you have troops running up a hill, the first guy with the flag gets shot. The second guy with the flag gets shot. The third guy that picks up that flag, is he going to be likely to want to surrender?
The fact that we've lost unconditional surrender as an American, as a Western principle, is where we're losing here as we're outlining these points.
Welcome back to the Israel Guys. We are doing something special this week because of Yom Kippur starting tonight and all of the craziness that just happened in the White House and across the Middle East over the last couple of days. We're pulling together an early roundtable. We have Nate with us. We have Josiah, Joshua. We have a lot to discuss. I feel like we should just kind of dive straight into this. Josiah, do you want to kick us off with giving us a setup of what happened over the weekend?
Yeah, so what happened over the weekend? Trump and Bibi obviously had their meeting early on here in the week. Trump just posted this on Truth Social. He said, all are on board for something special. First time ever, we will get it done.
What does he mean all are on board? I mean, like all the Arabs?
All the nations, the 25 Arab nations.
I think he's saying the world, the entire world.
Maybe the whole world.
I mean, Trump. This is Trump speaking here.
We know
all are on board, coming to Jerusalem.
We know that's not right. So he's really meaning the Arabs. He's saying we have 25 Arab nations that are on board with this plan.
I believe that's what,
this deal in Gaza.
Which, honestly, I have to say, I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Arab nations finally agreeing on something.
If that's true.
Right.
I haven't seen the Arab nations all coming out saying that they're in support of this.
Nobody's come out and said they're not in support, though.
That's also true.
Which
is good, and it's also a little bit scary because a lot of Arab nations on board with what's happening.
Right.
But yeah, last week talked a lot about speculation. What is going to happen in this meeting? What is this deal going to look like? Now we have some facts put out from the Trump administration and Bibi Netanyahu in the White House.
Well, I think it also brings up another question for us too, because we have this deal that they're saying the steps to peace in Gaza, but what is he offering those Arab nations? Is also another side to this equation we're not going to get into today, but that is a deal. Are we looking at giving F-35s to Saudi Arabia? Are we looking to give Saudi Arabia nuclear capacity? What is going on here? Those are very scary and legitimate things.
That's already in the works for Turkey. That's
what I was going to say is we know Trump is actually in active negotiations for 250 aircraft with Turkey currently, and Turkey is a part of this deal. So just for clarity, we don't know that anything a part of those two deals are actually attached, but it's possible.
Very possible.
Yeah. Also, there was a report from the White House saying that Trump was on the phone 5 times with Saudi Arabia just over these last couple of days in these meetings with Benjamin Netanyahu, all centered around peace, all centered around Gaza, the Gaza deal. This is the deal that ends the war, Trump's crowning moment. What he's been trying to achieve ever since he stepped foot in the White House.
What are the key Arab nations in this 25 Arab list? Do we know? I mean, it's like we're talking about Egypt, Jordan,
Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Pakistan, Indonesia,
right? Qatar, UAE.
Mm-hmm. There's more, but I think those are the biggest.
Those are the biggest. The main players.
Well, which represents a lot of money and represents the reason why these are key is because it's funding and it's the locals. It's the border. It's Israel's neighbors. So that's the people you need to talk to get their approval for something. Now, to break down what actually did they approve is the really scary part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had active discussions. Bibi arrived at the White House on Monday and started active discussions with Trump. According to reports, they had the Qataris on Zoom who were on Zoom with Hamas. Open phone to Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and they're just bouncing stuff back and forth, last minute negotiations. And as part of these discussions, Bibi apologized to Qatar for the strike that they did, which was
what do we think
interesting.
About that? Did we say boo about that?
I think it's cool that the discussion shifted. It just shifted, like Qatar is actively hosting Hamas, no give in the negotiations here. Israel strikes Qatar, and all of a sudden the conversation shifts to, oh, we're sorry we bombed you. And Qatar's like, could you please apologize and commit to never bombing us again? It just kind of shifted the whole dynamic of the conversation.
But I saw the apology
really cool.
wasn't even that they bombed Qatar. It was that they killed Qatari security guards.
Yeah.
That's what the apology was.
Yeah, or a security
or
guard.
killed a security guard. Like it wasn't sorry that we bombed in your territory. It was that sorry we killed
Here's
this.
what my apology would look like. Sorry, I killed one of your security guards that was guarding the monsters of Hamas. That's what my apology.
Right.
Sorry, you had a stupid guy that thought guarding these devils was a good idea. And maybe add into the apology that next time, maybe think about when you do something like guarding people that should not be guarded. Maybe that's not a good idea. So maybe the apology was worded in some form like that.
Yeah, he said, Mr. Prime Minister, I want you to know that Israel regrets that one of your citizens was killed in our strike.
Right.
I want to assure you that Israel targeted Hamas, not Qataris. I also want to assure you that Israel has no plan to violate your sovereignty again in the future, and I have committed to the president. I know that your leadership has complaints against Israel, and Israel has complaints against Qatar, ranging from support for the Muslim Brotherhood to the way that Israel is portrayed on Al Jazeera to support for anti-Israel sentiments on college campuses. I welcome the president's idea to establish a trilateral group to address the complaints of our two countries. And Bibi also reiterated that again in the press conference they did later, that he's excited, publicly excited about this trilateral discussion that will start happening between Qatar and the U.S.
I think that's great, though. It is like in this apology saying, oh, we're not going to bomb you again. We regret that we killed one of your citizens. He's basically saying, here's what Israel has a problem with. So if you could fix that, that'd be, it's like.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that the Muslim Brotherhood's still not declared a terrorist organization in America, from what I understand. They're described and noted as a terror organization in many Arab countries, but not in America.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is a really big problem. And these Qatari, and so to bring that up in America also highlights the big issue worldwide of the funders behind. I mean, this is really the Muslim Brotherhood is really the giant behind many of the other terror organizations, including Hamas.
Yeah. So we got to the 20-point plan. This is not the 21-point plan of 2020. This is the 20-point plan because they wanted to make a very clear distinction between the two.
Just get right on because
we finally got the details released from this meeting between Bibi and Trump. And according to President Trump, 25 Arab nations have signed off and agreed to this plan. Hamas has not responded officially as of the recording of this podcast.
Although I did hear a report that they're saying they will not accept.
Rumor is it that Hamas will not accept it.
I
cannot imagine that they will, but we'll get into that here in a little bit.
And that's a saving grace.
Possibly. Yeah. So the first point of the plan is Gaza will be de-radicalized, a de-radicalized terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors.
Can I ask a question on the first point? Any one of you. Point number one, give me a percentage of your faith in the Gazans that will happen. Any one of you, less than 99%, 0.999% chance that would actually happen.
That it would become a de-radicalized terror-free zone? I'd give it a solid 3 or 4%.
Solidly.
Can we go negative?
Negative. Yeah. Like the impossibility of that is.
I'm going 100 negative here that this could happen.
It's not happening.
My biggest thing with this is first plan. It's great. It sounds great on paper. This is awesome. This is the complete antithesis of what is in Gaza right now. So the question that immediately brings up in my mind is, at what point is it okay when it becomes, because it will, a radical, again, terror zone? At what point will the U.S. or Israel be able to, without international condemnation, step in and take care of the problem?
Totally. And I think this brings us, history repeats itself.
That's right.
We've tried this thing over and over and over again. Oslo Accords said exactly this, that the Palestinian Authority was going to take control of the area A and B areas in Judea and Samaria and the Gaza Strip. And they were going to become de-radicalized. They were going to stop terrorism from attacking Israel. That was the Oslo Accords. And obviously today, we just had a terror attack yesterday from the Palestinian Authority. This guy did a car ramming attack just yesterday. This happens continuously over and over again. That climax with October 7th, but this framework has been tried again and again and again. So yeah, I don't see it happening.
Yeah. Well, also, at least it looks good on paper. This is the first point of the plan.
First point, Second point is Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza who have suffered more than enough. Have the people of Gaza suffered enough?
Well, and that was my note here when I read that. As I said, the entire region, the Arab world, has not condemned October 7th. There's been no condemnation for October 7th. And the locals here, actually in overwhelming support, it's 80-something% in the conservative polls of the people that supported October 7th. So until that's rescinded, I'm sorry, there has to be unconditional surrender here that says we're sorry for October 7th. We will not commit this crime again.
That is a good point, yeah.
Which to make that point, there's not been an unconditional surrender since World War II.
World War II. That was the last unconditional surrender.
Unconditional, and I would go as far as to say there's not been a War I since then. The fact that we've
by
lost,
Western countries,
right,
yeah,
by Western countries, the fact that we've lost unconditional surrender as an American, as a Western principle, is where we're losing here as we're outlining these points.
That is the only reason that World War II ended with an unconditional surrender, was because of the amount of pressure. This is attacks. This is the nuclear bombs being dropped on Japan that made Japan stop. It made the people say, we no longer want to continue this. It made the leaders say, we no longer want to continue this. We're not seeing that in Gaza.
Which I think there's enough point to draw here. The Gazans are not the first people to have such a jihadist, but also a complete world view of domination, complete domination of the globe. These jihadists in Gaza have that. Well, they're not the first ones on the planet that had it. The Japanese also had that. The Germans had that. They wanted to take over the world, and there was not anything stopping them until you completely destroyed that mind, that process that said that's what they were going to do. And what you saw was complete surrender. What happened? That's how you re-educate the Gazans, is they go, oh, that's a bad idea. And then they change. And look at these places. That's where America won big time in the war, is when these countries said, oh, wow, yeah, I'm not following that jerk anymore, that genocidal jerk that was leading our country to be some sort of world empire that was going to take over the planet. That's exactly what jihad is. And that's what is happening. And the only way to defeat it is just like America did back in the day, in my opinion, is total 100% surrender. And then that, the Gazans have not suffered enough. They still believe in that genocidal thought, all the Jews die, we will take over America. That's what's happening. So no, we have not won this war.
And I think a reason why they continue is, like, if you continue with that analogy between Gaza and Japan had the ideology. The U.S. made it miserable for them to continue to exist in that ideology, and they also lost support in the world. And so there was no hope to continue. And I think in Gaza is being leveled right now. I mean, it is miserable to be in Gaza. In a lot of parts of Gaza, it's miserable right now, but they have a majority of the world backing them on the international stage. And so there's that hope. If we can just hold out long enough, somebody will come to our defense. And when you have that backing on the international stage, it can just keep going and going forever.
Like not to receive this plan.
Yeah.
They've got enough support outside to say no to this, is what it's looking like.
Even when the circumstances are really dark around you, you have that hope to look to, and that can keep you going. But
we'll be right back with the discussion on Trump's peace plan in just a second. But first, would you like to read through the entire Bible in a year while also staying connected to Israel, the Jewish people, and the Torah? The Daily Bread Bible Journals are the best scripture reading plan that we have found. They divide each day's reading into 4 simple portions. You have the weekly Torah portion, the writings, the prophets, and the New Testament. Each day includes both the regular calendar date and also the Hebrew calendar date, plus some space to jot down your favorite verse or just some thoughts from your reading. At the bottom of every page, the On This Day in History section highlights fascinating facts and marks important historical and biblical events. You'll also find the dates for all the biblical feast days like Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Right now, you can order the Daily Bread Bible Journals from our store by clicking the link in the description below. We even have special children's editions available, as well as the ones for adults. The Daily Bread Journals are hands down the best annual scripture reading plan we know of. I personally very much enjoy it for Christians, and they're a favorite among our staff team. It's such a meaningful way to connect with Israel, the Jewish people, the Hebrew calendar, and the roots of your faith. Click the link in the description below to order a Daily Bread Bible Journal today for yourself, your kids, or your whole family.
Third point of this plan is if both sides agree to this proposal, the war will immediately end. Israeli forces will withdraw to the agreed upon line, buffer zone line, to prepare for hostage release. During this time, all military operations, including aerial and artillery bombardment, will be suspended and the battle lines will remain frozen until conditions are met for the complete staged withdrawal.
I don't think they're going to. I think this is. I think our first 2 points were they got to get these. They got to like pull the Arabs into like thinking that they're appeasing them in some way, and now they're going a little bit hard here.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
I think you're also. It's a question of who's going to be holding the Arabs accountable on this.
Right.
You know, when they agree to these proposals, and I think that's really the kind of the thing that all the way through this whole agreement, who's holding who accountable. And how is that going to be? And throughout history, once again, we look back at history and say, okay, how does this work in the past? It didn't work when it was an international body. that
Right.
did
The
this.
only thing that could work
so-
and how they could hold the Arabs accountable, the Hamas here, is Qatar, Saudi Arabia. If they indeed have signed off on this, if Trump made it very clear to them, you have to make sure Hamas, if they agree to it, obviously, keeps their side of the deal. That could be the only way this would work.
And it's possible that that might actually work because Qatar has a lot of financial incentive with the U.S. right now with
Right,
all the trade deals wrapped
Yeah,
up.
it's possible. I don't have a lot of faith in Qatar either.
Yeah.
But or Saudi Arabia. But it's possible that this agreement doesn't outline this. But what I would like to see is Israel police this, and that's what they did in Lebanon with the ceasefire that's going on there. Israel's policing the ceasefire, and when
Mhm,
Lebanon actually goes against the ceasefire right now, Israel's striking.
Yep.
They're doing airstrikes because it's against the ceasefire agreement, and they're
Right.
policing it.
And it
so
keeps it contained.
right, keeps it contained, and it allows Israel to protect their borders. So I think that's that in my mind that would work.
So Israel pulls back to a buffer zone. Point number 4, within 72 hours of Israel publicly accepting this agreement, all hostages, alive and deceased, will be returned. Trump said in the press conference, he said immediately, they must be returned immediately at the latest 72 hours afterwards, basically giving Hamas enough time to find people.
Do we have
if needed.
that map of that first line that the military is supposed to
We
withdraw
have
to?
the right here.
Because this is basically the first thing that happens, right? Israel withdraws to this first line in Gaza, and then the hostages are released within 72 hours. So it's that blue line.
So the blue line is IDF current line of control. Yellow is the initial withdrawal
Okay.
line, and then hostages are released, and then second withdrawal line is for the international force.
I'm opposing this a little bit because this looks like surrender. This doesn't look like
Right.
peace through strength to me. Because what you're doing is if you're backing out, and this is why I said in the very beginning, the saving grace of this plan is that it not be accepted by Hamas for this very reason. IDF soldiers have fought and died, 900 something soldiers. I don't have the exact number. There on this battlefront, this is an intense battle that's affected every family throughout Israel. Is this winning? This doesn't look like unconditional surrender to me. To be like, we're going to step back. We're going to do a blue line and then a yellow line and then a red line. And then you're going to do this. That doesn't sound strong to me. Whatever. If I don't think they're going to agree to it. So I don't think this is even something that's going to even happen. But the fact that the Western world is not going full scale,
Right.
this
Well,
unconditional surrender. Is
Right.
not what we're
We've
saying.
already seen it though, where they've pulled back for hostage deals. And then they had to reconquer these cities that they already
That's right.
conquered. And
That's
they
right.
lost more soldiers and they lost more sons of Israelis here that are going in. And once again, I think all of this has to be cleared. Even all this stuff it's like Israel's fighting a war against these brutal massacres. This is not a war of aggression. This is not a war of these are people that came in and slaughtered
Right.
innocent civilians
not
in
a
their
border
home.
dispute. Yeah.
It's not a border dispute. These people came in and just brutally slaughtered women, children, men. It didn't indiscriminately. It didn't matter. And that has to remain the forefront of this war. Israel has a right to this war. Like there's if anybody had a right to a war in the world, Israel has a right to this war and to defeat Hamas entirely. Not only Hamas, but entire Gaza Strip. and the ideology.
So point number 5 is once all hostages are released, Israel will release 250 life sentence prisoners plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained after October 7th, including all women and children detained in that context. For every Israeli hostage whose remains are released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans.
You know, some of these Gazans detained, because many people talk about this, and I've been seeing this on social media a lot recently. The new bring them home, all the Palestinian hostages is what they're calling them, you know, prisoners, Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons. There's a new campaign calling for them, you know, calling them hostages, trying to equate them to the hostages in Gaza. But a lot of these people that aren't necessarily serving life sentences in prison for terrorism, those are the terrorists. Some of these other people, Gazans who were detained, there was a reason these people were detained inside of Gaza, whether that was, you know, women throwing Molotov cocktails at the IDF inside of Gaza, or some of these people could have been the quote unquote civilians who came in on October 7th to loot houses and to, you know, do things like that inside of Gaza. These people are not just random people that the IDF picked up off the street because they're trying to, you know, take out
people
Gaza
can't forget
civilians.
The atrocities that Israel faced on October 7th. And this is the war we're fighting right now. I was just in Nero's this week. That place was devastated. 2 years later, it's still devastated. That place is ruined. We cannot forget. And, you know, 2 years later, I think the world forgot in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But this is Israel's war, whether America wants to help and be involved with it or not. But this kind of stuff, I feel like, is America getting a little too involved. I believe that Israel needs full reign on exactly what they wish to do on their sovereign ground. You're a sovereign nation. Someone fights you, you fight them back. And for somebody to tell you, somebody came in and annihilated our towns, you don't have a right to go finish them, because that will happen again. This ideology, this absolute jihad that these neighbors have, they will keep doing this until every Jew is gone. That's their ideology. And my advice is stop them. That's my advice. Completely. Don't just kind of halfway stop them and push them back and then let's do this again in 10 years.
Yeah. And another aspect of that too is Trump mentioned in his press conference that they did after this that he said we're negotiating with a whole different Hamas team than we were last year.
They're all dead.
And then he was like, I mean, literally, because all the commanders were killed and Israel's killed 20,000 Hamas. This is a whole new, he's like, this is a third generation command team. And so he meant that as we have a new opportunity, do we actually have a new opportunity, or is this third generation more desperate?
Right.
Because they know they have a bounty on their head. They know that the previous two guys before you were killed. Kind of makes you wonder, the third guy who takes that over has a certain mindset of just
That's
like,
the
I
problem.
don't really care.
It's Western mindset adapted onto this Middle Eastern jihad. Middle Eastern jihad, the whole idea is to die. Why would somebody take the job? They want the job because that's their goal.
Right.
Die for the sake of their faith.
It's like if you have troops running up a hill, the first guy with the flag gets shot. The second guy with the flag gets shot. The third guy that picks up that flag, is he going to be likely to want to surrender at the top of the hill?
Well, I think this is also, this whole thing with the hostage thing, like I was just saying before, is this is just ridiculous. You have people, murderers, that are on this list to be released. These are literally murderers, and you're saying 250 murderers that are going to be released for civilian hostages. This is insanity.
Yeah,
like come on, like these people have been held for almost 2 years now, and absolutely, and there's nothing in this whole document talking about the human rights of these hostages. The Red Cross has not been able to visit these hostages once. This is a basic human rights, even in a hostage situation where somebody's demanding something, is they have right to talk to the Red Cross. Like this is an international law. This is international right that you have as a hostage, to be able to be granted medicine. You have to be given food. There's these rights, these human rights that we have to have in war. There's nothing in this document that talks about any of that. There's nothing that talks about how they're taken care of. We've seen the videos coming out of Gaza. These people are in absolutely atrocious conditions, not fed. They're starving to death. That's what's happening. And now you're saying, okay, now we're gonna release these hostages as if they're some kind of POWs, as if they're some kind of whatever. These are civilians that we're taking. This is not a deal. And you're going to take these and trade them for murderers. Like,
For murderers, not only these guys murderers, and we would be remiss not to point out that these 250 terrorist murderers that are going to be released from Israeli prisons will bring the next October 7th that much faster because Hamas is depleted of commanders. These guys are veterans in terrorism. They're going to be recruited as Hamas leaders. And so far in the however many thousand terrorists that Israel has released out of prisons, there's been one case I've heard of, and that one's even debatable, where the terrorist was like, you know what? I think I'm done with terrorism. I'm going to go live my life in my town.
Right.
That's one.
Well, we have, I mean, history, once again, go back to history. Sinwar. The guy that started Yahya Sinwar.
Yeah.
He was a hostage deal. He was released back
Wasn't
in
it the Gilad Shalit?
2011. He went in and he orchestrated this whole thing.
Yeah. So point number 6, once hostages are returned, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence and to commission their weapons will be given amnesty. Members of Hamas who wish to leave Gaza will be provided safe passage to receiving countries.
Again, Josiah just answered that point.
I say, I mean, if they could send them to France, you know.
They're already in France.
That's true.
You have to have them locked in somehow, because this
as long as they don't come to America.
The whole coexistence thing. I'm reading a book right now called Uprooted, talking about basically the Jews all being kicked out of the Muslim countries in the Middle East during the 20th century. That they were all these Muslim countries. The Jewish population there was since the Babylonian exile 3,000 years ago, before Islam was ever even founded. These Jewish communities were actually there before the Muslim communities are, and now the whole chapter I just read was about coexistence. They said coexistence in Muslim countries never existed because Islam is a religion of dominance. And so any other religious group in a Muslim country is a second-class citizen, and they have to pay basically a tax to be able to be protected, a protection tax. So this idea of coexistence with Islamic jihad, I mean with Islamic religion, just fundamentally doesn't work. Like there's no. The ideology there does not work.
Well, it's also this particular point. Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence, which is an oxymoron, and they decommission their weapons, and they wish to leave Gaza, can do that. This is a complete out for any Hamas member that has killed Jews, that has murdered IDF soldiers. Yeah. These people that have been fighting for months. This is their out to get out of Gaza.
No,
I had a point here, and I don't know if this makes exact sense. But what happens in America when you brutally, I mean, this happens, gangs, they do terrible things. When they're caught and justice is, and you know that was the guy who did that, I mean, typically there's hell to pay. Life imprisonment would be the least of which that person would receive. And many times it would be the death penalty, right? If you know for a fact that this guy did something horrendous, for instance, the guy who shot Charlie Kirk, there will be, most likely, we'll see what happens, but there will be death to pay, most likely. Okay, so what happens when someone kills a Jew? I just want to bring this clearly to home. Is there some sort of difference? Why is it that when you kill an American, and not even American, because there's Americans were killed here. Yeah. These people that are going to be released killed Americans. There's no doubt. Right. What's the difference? Why is there a different set of rules for if you kill an American in America or you kill an American in Israel that has a dual citizenship? Why is there a difference? Should not murderers be treated as murderers according to the American principle, moral code? Get rid of it. Nobody's releasing. Don't release these brutal monsters, these people who created such atrocities against the Jewish people and against Americans into the public. This is the worst thing, I think, in this entire thing. Amnesty?
Right.
No. That's not even moral.
Well, I think just on that moral deal, if I wouldn't want them living in my neighborhood or my country or my state, I mean, that's really, like,
Again,
this is
Hamas
insane.
will not accept this.
No.
Lord willing.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully
yeah.
not.
Because this is terrible.
Okay, so after that, Israel will send an aid, and then the UN will send an aid. Open up the Rafah crossing, both directions
But
for aid.
yeah,
Finish, Ben. Gotta finish it.
I'm gonna keep working my way through here. There's
but
a lot.
Ben,
of
I
material.
gotta talk about that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Because this deal with aid, number one, so who's going to be the guys governing this aid is going to be the Red Crescent, and
Sounds like a Muslim entity, right?
yeah, so
Muslim version of the Red Cross. Yeah.
right, Red Crescent, the UN, and Egypt are the guys that are going to be bringing this stuff in, right?
So trustworthy.
So the Red Crescent, first off, we know that they were working with Hamas to do this. We know that the UN facilities were also working with Hamas to do this. And we also know that all the tunnels going from Gaza were going straight into Egypt. So all of the weapons and everything that started October 7th was from Egypt. So we're putting these three people in charge of aid that are gonna now be supplying aid with, I mean, from how I'm reading this is there's no real other oversight. These people are doing it. This is coming through the Rafah crossing.
It'll probably just be coffee and stuff.
I'm sure, but these people, can we we're trusting these people to do this?
That is crazy.
That was my
actually kind of crazy.
That was insane.
We'll be right back in just a second, but first we wanted to show you the trailer for our epic film about the Temple Mount that is dropping on Sunday, October 5th, about the real location of the Temple Mount. Take a watch.
The Temple Mount has loads of Jewish history, thousands of years. The Antonio Fortress, here it goes, is now placed by most archaeologists on top of the Temple Mount in the northwest corner.
The Antonio Fortress didn't build for example, for a legion.
The temple does not use the water from the Gihon Spring.
We're in the old city of Jerusalem here. We're looking for a rooftop.
There is a Hebrew inscription that says, "To the place of trumpeting."
We're talking scientific facts, probably over 750,000 pieces that the assumption is that they come from the Temple Mount. You have to deny all the information about the temple. You have to deny everything we have in the Bible.
No one should ever try to place it anywhere else.
The film will be dropping on the channel on October 5th, this coming Sunday. Sign up to watch the film at theisraelguys.com/temple. Don't want to miss out on this one.
And so after that, Gaza will be governed under a temporary transitional governance of technocratic Palestinian committee. There's a lot here. This committee will be made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts, with oversight and supervision by a new international transitional body called the Board of Peace, which will be headed and chaired by Trump and other members of heads of state, which will be announced, including former Prime Minister Tony Blair. And this will set the framework for a new government in Gaza that will not include the Palestinian Authority unless they complete the reform program outlined in 2020. In the 2020 peace plan.
Qualified Palestinians. That's where I got locked up. I was like,
Right.
I'm sure there's some out there.
No, there are.
somewhere.
Well,
no, there's not. I got to make that point
I'm
clear.
sorry, I'm with Josh.
No. I'm
sorry.
saying, no, there's two different things here. You might find some qualified Arabs, 100%, but you will not find a qualified Palestinian because there's no such a thing.
That is
Palestine
true. That
is
true.
not a thing. You will never
true.
find a qualified. I'm saying, if you're going to use the word qualified,
kind of
let's qualify it.
It's a disqualifying factor to call yourself a Palestinian. Is what
because
you're saying, yeah.
Right. And that's the main thing, because there
right.
are Palestinians, people that were here that maybe have moved to America, taken on Western ideals, that have gone to, American universities, that could be, could have right ideas.
Okay, we could
Some
bring
American
the
universities, yeah.
Green Prince, right? We could bring him in.
Yeah,
He
just
could
bring in the
start
Green Prince.
government.
He
There
could
you
be
go. There's
He doesn't call himself a Palestinian, right?
That's true.
That's the thing.
So he
That's
would
the
actually
thing.
not even
Right.
qualify.
He would
That's what I'm saying.
My deal here is that back to the international body thing of oversight that has never worked in history. Is there's never, just with the war just now in Lebanon. is there was supposed to be a UN body, a governing body. All the wars of Israel, there's been governing bodies supposed to be watching the Arabs to make sure they're not building up for war. This has continually not happened.
Wasn't that the Oslo Accords?
Oslo Accords.
Can we just describe a little bit what's going on in the Oslo Accords? Can we show this video of what happened just like a few days ago in Bethlehem of all places? This is Oslo Accord Bethlehem. It looks like, and we'll pull this video up, but this looks like the actual footage that you would find in Hamas-run Gaza.
Right.
This is the Palestinian Authority operating in Bethlehem. Beautiful. Well, people think Bethlehem. Peaceful.
But
Christmas.
Josh, here it says that the Palestinian Authority is going to have a complete reform program.
Right. So
And
literally, do you know that America did that? They trained these guys.
The reform program is pretty intense.
No, but I'm saying
that they set out.
But somehow the details, the devil's in the details. I'm telling you, America had good intentions when they established this Oslo Accords idea, and they trained Arabs how to defend and rid themselves of terrorism. They became the trained terrorists themselves.
Right.
That's what happens every single time. And you see this video. What is this equipment? This is all American equipment.
Well, and I think
this stuff is the trucks, American trucks, American guns.
What people don't realize too is that the Palestinian Authority right now lives a complete two-face operational rule. They have their police force that a lot of them were trained by Americans, and occasionally they go in and arrest like Hamas and the PIJ and the Lions Den terrorists. At the same time, their other part of their police force also commits terrorist attacks, and the Palestinian Authority pays any Palestinian to go out and kill Jews.
To be fair, it seems like that is a major part of the discussion. This is what Bibi just said at the press conference afterwards.
Yeah, I did like
about
what he said.
the PA.
As for the Palestinian Authority, I appreciate your firm position that the PA could have no role whatsoever in Gaza without undergoing a radical and genuine transformation. In your 2020 peace plan, which you mentioned just now, you made clear what that transformation requires. It's not lip service. It's not checking a box. It's a fundamental, genuine, and enduring transformation. And that means ending pay to slay, changing the poisonous textbooks that teach hatred to Jews, to Palestinian children, stopping incitement in the media, ending lawfare against Israel at the ICC, the ICJ, recognizing the Jewish state, and many, many other reforms.
That's comforting, because that's the very, very existence. Everything you just mentioned is the very existence of the Palestinian Authority, which would take them, even if they had good intentions, 30 years to complete that.
I'm working on reading through the Oslo Accords right now, but from what I understand from before, all of these things were supposed to be a part of that.
Right.
I guess
the difference though is here, all this is supposed to happen before the PA can have any say, not afterwards. It's a condition, which I think is a difference.
And maybe that's a deal. The question though, once again, is who's going to hold them accountable and who's going to, what's happened in the past is like, even with the Oslo Accords, this was supposed to be done and nobody held the Palestinian Authority accountable.
Yeah.
And nobody pushed that.
And here's the thing is that what I want to say is that I don't know if this is accountable. I don't know if it can be held accountable. There's in Sinjil right now, there are fundraisers going on from the community of Sinjil, right next to the ancient town of Shiloh and the Jewish community there, from all over America, from Florida, from I think it was obviously up in Michigan. These big Arab communities are funding in mass the takeover, and it's happening now, the takeover of Israeli state lands surrounding the Arab village of Sinjil.
Right.
$150,000 in this donation. This group of so-called Palestinian Arabs living, very well in America, sending these donations into here. It's all undercover, and they're plowing roads and they're building infrastructure now, like in mass across the Jewish state, not just in Gaza, but they're doing it in mass across Judea and Samaria. And it's being funded by the Arabs of the entire world, including the Arabs of America. The craziest thing that outlines this to me, and this is why I'm specifically saying Sinjil, this is where Sirhan Sirhan came from. Sirhan Sirhan was the terrorist who murdered RFK. Like, that was 1968. Did we change anything? Did that ideology change since 1968? No, it has not changed, and that village of Sinjil still exists today, and it's a terrorist village that is continuing to get funding from America. That funnel is allowed, and it's going underneath the surface. Nobody's catching it. $150,000 yesterday or a day before at a meeting in Florida being sent straight to Sinjil to accomplish the goal of the jihadist.
Right.
And is it being checked? No.
Yeah.
It's going live.
Well, and I think back to this amnesty thing. Does that mean these kind of guys can now go to America if they have a clean slate?
Hopefully
Just like
not.
this guy.
Hopefully not.
I mean, who's checking? Now they have a
Bring 'em
clean
in.
slate. Let's bring them in now. You know,
Yeah,
this is nuts.
Okay, so
All right.
we're running low on time, but as we move through, basically the rest of the points of the plan are giving Gaza economic opportunity to rebuild under international oversight, and then establishing, this is kind of the interesting part, establishing a joint international stabilization force, an ISF is what they're calling it, to police Gaza, which will be consult with Jordan and Egypt. And I guess that's it, Jordan and Egypt. And
again, really great partners, you know,
for sure.
This is where the terrorists are coming from constantly.
Yeah, so I guess they said Arab and international partners.
Right.
Sorry, I got that part
Well,
wrong.
Ben, can you pull up those videos or the pictures there of the Palestinian Authority police vehicles in Judea and Samaria right now? So I think this has to be defined. What is police and what is military? Driving in an armored car with the one back that has a machine gun mounted to the roof there. If we're looking at a armored vehicle, that's not a police vehicle. This is a military vehicle. This is a military force. Now, right now, they're driving these in Judea and Samaria. These vehicles, these armor-plated vehicles.
That's well beyond what they had for October 7th.
Yeah. They're driving Hiluxes that have no armor plating on them on October 7th. This is what a police force has right now in Judea and Samaria. I think that we really have to define what is a police, what is military here, if this is going to actually even be able to work.
Right, because this is what came out of the Oslo Accords.
Right, this came out of the Oslo.
That police force that was supposed to defend the peace, right? Keep the peace, defend the people, and
thank God we haven't seen these being used against Israeli communities
It's a matter
yet,
of time.
but it's a matter of time.
Yeah,
It's a matter of time.
We just showed you that video in Bethlehem, supposedly, peaceful. The Christians in Bethlehem can't even be Christian anymore. They're all fleeing for their lives because radical jihad is taking over Bethlehem. The people driving those Jeeps right there are radical jihadists with the October 7th Hamas supporting ideology that wants to see Hamas in Bethlehem. You're not going to win this war with the signing of a paper. That's just clear. That will not happen.
Okay, so from there, they stated Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. As the ISF establishes control and stability, the Israel Defense Forces will withdraw based on standards, milestones, and timeframes linked to demilitarization that will be agreed upon between the IDF and ISF, the guarantors, and the United States, with the objective of a secure Gaza that no longer poses a threat to Israel, Egypt, or its citizens. So basically the IDF withdraws, the international security force comes in, they negotiate between the IDF and the ISF for what stability in Gaza looks like, and they create that stability for Israel and for Egypt and for Gazans.
Nice on paper, never going to work.
Sounds like the UN forces in Lebanon between Hezbollah and Israel.
Well, and I think there is a big thing to bring to the table here is what happens. Like, obviously we're pro annexation, we're pro sovereignty. We believe this is God's biblical covenant land. So on that foundation, we're very pro these things. But then the next question comes up is, okay, then what do you do with the Arab population? How do you deal with this? And the real big issue here is I would say
it's real simple.
It's simple, but it's also
Go
complicated.
back to where you came from,
right? But most of those countries won't accept them now.
No, but they literally have paperwork from there within the last 2 to 3 generations, all of them.
For sure. Which I don't think anybody but Jews should be citizens in Israel. it's a Jewish democracy. This is not a democracy that like America or a melting pot. Israel is a Jewish democracy, the only one in the world. I think that's really the foundation of it.
Protect it.
Is as far as that goes. But then the second level is really, I mean, it's sad, but the Arab population is the crime. That most of the crime that's committed in Israel is from the Arab population. That's just a fact.
It's a huge problem.
Huge problem. So, and that's one of the reasons and one of the holdbacks to sovereignty in Judea and Samaria.
Let's just not say it's an
Gaza
Arab
Strip.
problem. It's a jihadic problem.
Correct.
It's from the Islamic faith that makes people absolute brutes, that turns them into fighters and gangsters and
Theft.
theft.
So I had a well, it's just a crazy situation here where you have, how do you police that? How do you police however many million Arabs live in Gaza? The Israeli forces can't take that on. How do you police the Arabs of Judea and Samaria? And that's one of the big holdbacks to actually applying sovereignty in these areas.
Yeah, so that leads us to what I think is the most interesting statement in this whole entire proposal is number 17. And I kind of want to get everyone's takes on this because in the event Hamas delays or rejects this proposal, I'm quoting, the above, including the scaled up aid operation, will proceed in the terror-free areas handed over from the IDF to the ISF. What's your interpretation of what that means? Because to me, that looks like they're saying if Hamas rejects the proposal, the IDF will start handing over the areas that they've conquered to the Joint Security Force for them to, like, basically Hamas can stay in their little hellholes and the IDF will start handing over territory to Joint Security Forces. Which honestly, like Nate said, if Israel's not going to go full annexation, maybe this kind of is the only path forward. Because if Israel is not going to be serious about actually taking Gaza, do we want for the next 50 years 20,000 IDF stationed in Gaza getting blown up every 3 seconds? Like, is that really an answer?
The people of Israel will speak before this. Bibi Netanyahu has a very important opportunity right now, and that is to be the voice of the people to America. And this does not represent the people of Israel. The people of Israel will defeat Hamas. They will finish it. Aside from international powers coming and physically holding them back, which America has the opportunity to force Israel to stop. And that might happen through something like this. But that is certainly not the will of the people. The people of Israel will not stop until there's no Hamas left.
Well, I think it's bigger than that, though. It's not just Hamas. The people of Israel recognize this is not just Hamas.
Oh, they know that.
Bibi keeps saying this over and over again, that this is Hamas. We're defeating Hamas. But the people of Israel understand, and the guys I'm talking to on the street understand that this is an ideology. This is not a organization. October 7th was not an organization. It was an ideology that committed this attack. And the people of Israel that are fighting the People's Army. This is a People's Army in Gaza. They're fighting those wars. I've talked to many of those soldiers, and they're defeating, and they're ready to go in and conquer and defeat this ideology. That's what they're there to do.
This doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I thought that if they didn't accept, Israel was going to give them the rights to go in and finish the war.
Yeah, didn't Trump say
that's
that?
what I'm confused about.
This doesn't make any sense.
At the end, Trump said that, if Hamas doesn't accept within 3 to 4 days, Bibi has full backing to do whatever he needs to do.
What this number 17, literally, unless we're reading it completely wrong, gives Hamas, it's literally begging Hamas to reject the deal. Because it's saying you're going to get a scaled up aid program, and the area that the IDF is holding will be handed over to international.
I guess the clause number 6, I think it was 16, said that it would be a joint agreement between the IDF and the ISF as to what happens. So maybe this clause is basically Israel, maybe Bibi is asking for that and saying, we don't want to hold these areas. And so when we're ready, we'll pass that over to the ISF. And
well, we already see that they're working.
It's in Israel's timing, basically.
They're working with other factions there right now.
Yeah, it's already happening.
It's already happening. So
maybe that's the idea, is Bibi can do whatever he needs to do with territory that is still in control of Hamas, but territory that Israel holds, Israel at their discretion can pass it off to the ISF and kind of move this process along. Maybe that's what that means. From here, they will establish an interfaith dialogue process.
What does that mean?
based on the values of tolerance and peaceful coexistence,
right?
To try to change mindsets and narratives of Palestinians and Israelis by emphasizing the benefits that can be derived from peace, More power
Is
to
this
you.
like we're going to get a pastor and a rabbi to sit down with Hamas leaders and talk through this?
Hey,
The pastor,
it
the
would be
imam,
worth-
and the rabbi.
it would
you
be
know, we're
worth
gonna
a
get
try.
this.
I mean, it would be worth a try.
That's the
Here's the
beginning
thing
to a
is-
bad joke.
Is 17. I love how it's followed with 18 is followed by 17. You will not get 18 if you do 17.
Yeah.
It will not work. Point 17 is ludicrous to think you're going to sit down and have an interfaith dialogue with world, people who have a world ideology of takeover and dominance.
Death.
You don't have an interfaith dialogue with someone that's winning.
Pastor, rabbi, and an imam all sit down in the room and only the imam walks out.
This is about
That's
it.
what you just
Well,
described.
Josh, I think this is back to your
coexistence has been established.
This is right.
That's
This is
exactly
back to
right.
your Japan analogy. The Japanese people were not willing to sit down and have this conversation until there was total defeat. They were not willing to go to that place.
Right. And even when the U.S. was winning, Japanese soldiers were still killing themselves instead of surrendering.
Right.
So they had to create that situation where it was no longer tolerable for anyone in Japan to continue the war.
Right.
So that leads us to point number 19. When Gaza redevelopment advances and when the PA reform program is faithfully carried out, two huge clauses, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, which we recognize as the aspiration of the Palestinian people. This is the greatest Trump statement ever. Just saying, from the Trump White House, it is refreshing to put two massive clauses in place and then say conditions may finally be in place, may finally be in place. And then we recognize as the aspiration of the Palestinian people. Not we recognize as our aspiration or our desire or anything. It's just we recognize this is what the Palestinians want. It's possible.
Basically,
it's possible this could
it's-
happen, which is true.
Right.
And I think this is how they get the Saudis on board and the Qataris and United Arab Emirates.
He's
But,
basically saying,
yeah, they're very clear.
if we can overcome impossibility number one, and impossibility number two, then let's talk about it. There may be room for your aspirations.
But I think that for me, the biggest problem here is the aspiration part. We recognize as the aspiration of the Palestinian people, statehood. What we all know what that looks like.
Mhm.
That they're not the same language here.
Well,
they're not talking about
Samaria.
Gaza Strip. They're not talking about Judea and Samaria. You walk through the Arab quarter of Jerusalem and see the market, all the keychains that say Palestine on them just so happen to be the exact borders of Israel.
And the truth is, to be clear,
that's the Palestine that they're talking about.
the Palestinians do not have that's not their aspiration, is to create a state. That's not the goal. That's not the purpose. Because as soon as they created that state, it would be taken over by all these different countries and factions, and there'd be so much internal fighting. They don't want a state. Their goal is to eliminate Israel. And as soon as all these terrorist organizations that are already involved in the Palestinian areas achieve that goal, which is their goal to eliminate Israel, there's not going to be a state.
Which
There's not gonna
is
be a
what
Palestinian
makes this
state.
statement so refreshing, because every single American administration before this has said our goal is to create a Palestinian state.
Mhm.
And just to give the Trump administration a little bit of credit here,
Yeah.
it is fantastic, because this statement is basically the equivalent of telling your children, if you guys can build us a new house before dinner time, we'll think about going to the moon. I mean, it's literally like that. Like, if you guys can do the impossible, we'll talk about doing the impossible.
Right.
Which is cool. I mean, it's just kind of cool, I guess.
But I think though, I mean, maybe I'm the pessimist here on this topic. The problem is even this whole agreement that we're talking about is everybody said that they weren't going to agree to the Oslo Accords.
Mhm.
And so that's where
They did it.
And they did it. And so we have to say, hey, sorry, even if, all of this is done, this still doesn't, we can't have a Palestinian state over all of Israel. This doesn't work.
Right.
We can't, this understanding what they're talking about. And I think, to be clear, like this is not acceptable. The aspirations of a Palestinian state is not acceptable. Like I get what you're saying here, Ben. I give the Trump administration.
But maybe the
account.
possibility is the PA reforms, the Palestinians pull their act together, and America creates a self-determination for them in Sudan.
Nice.
I mean, that's like, it doesn't say
Paris.
in Israel
It
or
doesn't
in
say
Palestine.
Israel.
It says a state with
Be much easier- much
self-determination.
easier in
Wait a
Paris.
minute, Ben. Are you saying that they're taking over Sudan?
Well, they already have, but
I was thinking France.
yeah, or create a Palestinian state,
France, it's
Paris,
basically
that's,
already there.
It's the only thing I'd want to see. I want to see this next step, next level. If we're going to throw some vision out to the Trump administration, let's create the one and only powerful Jewish state on the borders of its ancient ancestral homeland.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Amen.
Let's just give some more vision. Let's not talk
do
about Palestinians. Let's not talk about a people group that is literally a created people group, a proxy army created by the Arab neighbors in unison together with one goal in mind, and their forces are called Palestinians. That's their forces.
Yep.
It's a military operation from all of the Arab countries around Israel with a one concerted effort, and their war is called Palestine War, right? They're Palestinians. Their war is to absolutely destroy, not just create a Palestine. They don't even want to create a state, like Josiah said. They want to destroy the Jews.
And
their proxy war is these people living in Judea and Samaria and the Gaza Strip. I wish that every Palestinian, literally so many Palestinians these days, these politicians that literally have adapted the Palestinian ideology, they do not understand that.
How about
they don't know that?
Peace through strength.
Yep. How about it?
Peace through strength.
Also,
that's what Trump put out his truth after this.
Let's say maybe not peace through threats.
Peace through
that's
threats.
what we've seen over and over again. So sadly, through the Trump administration, it's peace through threats over and over again.
And peace through concessions.
Right.
But just like what Josh is saying, if we just look, literally, you can look at the Bible. You can look at the Bible for a perfect example of this. King David. When King David took over the kingdom, there was many different divided factions. There was many Philistines in the land that held parts of Israel. And literally what he had to do to create a strong kingdom, a peace in Israel, in the land of Israel, in the kingdom of Israel, he had to get rid of those who were trying to kill Jews, trying to disrupt that.
Pretty simple.
And basically, if the Palestinians were taken to other countries, if they were somehow, and it sounds terrible, just like gotten rid of from this area, there would be peace in Israel. Israel would become a strong country. You would no longer have the Middle East conflict because Israel would be strong. And there's plenty of ways to do that peacefully, maybe. We're kind of running out of options at this point.
I don't know.
But yeah, you look at the Bible and you see that Israel can be strong when Israel is a sovereign nation and there's no longer those factions.
Yeah, we are very quickly running out of time, but before we have to wrap this up, I'd like to kind of go around real quick. Everyone give 30 seconds. Everyone has to know, all the nations negotiating this, that there's very little chance Hamas accepts this deal. Why is this happening if they know that? Josh, you want to start?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there is obviously always like a game of chess going on in the background. I think Benjamin Netanyahu is one of the best chess players there are on the planet. I don't think he's always read it right. I think he's gotten it wrong many, many times. And I think even the idea behind it right now is wrong. I want to see a more Zionistic. I want to see establishing the one and only Jewish state, and not the 23rd Arab state proxy war against Israel. So I think the ideology behind this plan is flawed. And I do not know what the big thing is going back to the background and why. When they know, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the big reason for this deal, and it may be a little bit more on the pessimistic side, is because of America's relationship with the Arab countries right now, with Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And I think this could be Trump's last attempt, hopefully, at saving face with these Arab countries, saying, I tried everything possible to get a deal in Gaza. This is the best deal, that could ever come out for Hamas. I tried. Hopefully this is his last attempt, saying I tried to do that. But personally, I think with so much wrapped up between these trade deals with Qatar and the US, and we saw with the Hamas strike in there, Trump is not very happy. There's a lot of behind the scenes going on there, which is a little suspicious, but hopefully this is Trump's last attempt at appeasing those guys.
I think there's one major piece missing from this, and I think it kind of explains the situation here. And that's faith. Like this deal, it does mention this coexistence, this tolerance type thing. But I think that all of these American politicians and Trump and these guys, they're not looking at this the Middle East conflict through a faith-based lens. And so this deal without a faith-based lens makes sense. If you could accomplish what this deal is outlining, and everybody were actually in good faith went by this deal, it could work. And so I think on a logical standpoint, this deal makes sense. But when you take history and you take faith and you take ideology and you put that into this deal, you can see very quickly that it won't work. And so for all intents and purposes, you have somebody that's not religious and they're going, how do I solve the Middle East problem? Then this would be a deal that they would come up with. And it makes logical sense. But the faith factor changes all of that. And I think that's the core that's missing right here.
With that, thank you guys for joining us today. We are on the eve of Yom Kippur, so may you be inscribed for a good year. Have an easy fast if you're joining us with that. Also, don't forget our film on the Temple Mount location is dropping on Sunday. We're super excited about that premiering here on the channel. Go to theisraelguys.com/temple to sign up for when that drops. Also, we are listener supported here on the channel. If you'd like to join us in our effort to bring the truth about what is happening in Israel, you can do that at theisraelguys.com/donate. We are incredibly blessed by all of your support that happens there. And we have an insider Telegram group with all kinds of behind the scenes content that drops there that you get access to if you are one of our monthly supporters. As always, thanks for watching.